and Westmont, they all had downtowns.
Yeah.
And they were all, you could walk, and you could get anything you wanted pretty much right there in town. And
Yeah.
they're gone pretty much. There's no 5 and 10s.
Yeah.
The Morristown had 2 supermarkets right next to each other, A&P and
Acme.
the Acme. But they also had the shoe cobbler and a couple of restaurants, small, counter type, and a snack place. They had everything you wanted. The only thing, even the little department store, and you could do without a car. You could do without that.
Well, why did you and Jerry decide to live here as opposed to any place else, New York or any place else? What made you move back here?
Well,
Gonna be near your parents or what?
no, we had an apartment over there where I told you where the barn was knocked down, and it was a very nice apartment, and of course we needed more room.
But why did you pick that? Why did you decide to move here?
Well, we were close to Morristown for one thing, and the apartment was cheap and nice.
You wanted to be near your parents.
Yeah, and his mother lived in Camden. She was a widow.
She lived in Morristown also?
No, in Camden.
In
She lived
Camden, oh, okay.
She lived in the house that my husband was born in,
So he grew up here as well.
and he grew up in Camden, and went to. If you walked out their front door, it was on Ferry Avenue. If you walked out their front door and went directly across the street, you would walk into the side door of Sacred Heart Church. And because he went to school there, and then he went to Camden Catholic High School.
So you didn't know him till you got to Rutgers.
I didn't know him then, no. And I only met him in college. I didn't know him before that. But it was very, very nice when he was living there in Camden. Very, a lot of different sort of people. And there again, his mother shopped on foot. She could get anything she wanted right up on Broadway. Broadway was right near, very near their house. And their Ferry Avenue was the route that the farmers would come in from around here with their tomatoes to Campbell's Soup. And they would line up all along Ferry Avenue. And so then they had newspapers, the boys did, newspaper routes. And they went along and sold the newspapers to the farmers waiting in line to empty their trucks at Campbell's Soup. And that was, and also they got any tomatoes that they could find or sneak. They did that. But no, Camden was a great place to live in then.
But the apartment you had over here on
On Kings Highway.
Kings Highway was the first place you lived as a married couple here
That's
in
right.
the Cherry Hill area.
That's right.
And how long did you live there?
2 years. We were there 2 years. Martha Ann was 1956, 57. We bought the house in 58. So Martha Ann, we moved there in 56. Martha was born there. And then we moved in our other house in 58. On June 10th, 1958, June 10th was my husband's birthday. That's how I remember it. And we had Kevin at that point. He was only 14 months behind Martha Ann. So we moved to the other house.
How did you find the apartment?
We saw an ad in the paper, and we went over to look at it. And it was almost unlivable, literally. But we could see possibilities. And it had 10 acres of ground, which made its difference. And you won't believe this, but it was $18,000.
You're talking about the house on Old Cuthbert now.
Right, with 10 acres of ground.
How much rent did you pay at this place on Kings Highway?
$50 a month, plus the utilities. And we had a very nice second floor apartment. It's still there.
And after 2 years, you bought the house on Old Cuthbert Road,
Old Cuthbert, right.
along with 10 acres for $18,000. And that was what year?
1958.
58.
We had no plumbing and no. It was only well water, and we had to there was no garbage collection. You had to bury your garbage, We had 900 feet on Old Cuthbert Road, frontage.
And how did you decide to buy that house?
Well, it had what we wanted. It had room. My husband wanted to start a nursery, and it had room. And we were desperate for room because we had 2 kids in that 1-bedroom apartment. But anyway, it was, in a way, it was a wise move, but it was like Mr. Blandings builds his dream house. We had no idea that we would have to spend so much money to make it even habitable. And we didn't have any money. And that's the type of house that you shouldn't buy unless you have some money.
Who sold it to you?
A man by the name of an Italian man, and as far as I know, he never worked. His parents had a row of a row of garages over in South Philadelphia that they rented out. And he was an only child, and they left a lot of money. They had horses, but as I say, he was Italian. I don't know how his wife had 3 children, grown, but they lived there. I don't know how she lived in the house. She had no kitchen to speak of, none. The kitchen was in and plus the fact that they Italianated the house. The little work they did do.
You remember his name?
I can find out. I can look on the deed. And
How much time and energy and money do you think you spent fixing the house up?
we never did finish it. We never could finish it. It was constant. A lot. But the thing is, we were taxed out. We couldn't do it. We couldn't do it. Our taxes, the first year we were there, were $139 a year. And we only had the 2 children. 2 years later, it was well over 1,000. And we had 4 children. And it got up to within 7 years, it was over 4,000. It went up and up and up. Now
Goes all of the land?
yeah. But that's not all. The crooked politicians wanted to develop Cherry Hill. Now we had 900 feet, and they of course wanted water and sewer. And the old timers, put it in. We paid to have development done. We had no choice. We had to do it. And it was $8,000 in those days to have that done. And we could finance it through the township, and the interest was 8%.
How many people lived along Old Cuthbert when you first moved there?
16 houses.
That was it?
That was it. And the
All
rest, it was
little farmhouses?
All
farm.
farm. But then, you see, because it was farm land, they had to have put that into the sewer and the water. But they were farmland. They got farmland assessment.
That's right.
Yeah, we had 18 acres next to us, and about 30 acres opposite the tennis courts there. And then even more farther down, a great big one at the end of the road. And it was just all farm, and then individual houses. And most of the people lived in South Philadelphia and worked at the shipyard or during the war. And then they moved out, and they came from South Philadelphia, and almost all of them were Italian.
And did they work the farms out here?
A man by the name of Sergi worked the farm, and his brother also owned a big farm on Springdale Road,
Right.
the Sergi Farm, and he farmed it. And then there was another man at the end of the road, and he had a big farm, and he had donkeys. And we, as I say, we made settlement. We moved in on the 10th of June, and at that time we had a horrible cinder block porch that somebody put in 1922. It was horrible. It went all the way across the front of the house. And it was a hot night, and Jerry I'd gone to bed, but I was awake. and the windows were all open, and he was down in the kitchen in the back, such as it was, the kitchen. And all the next thing I know, I hear a donkey braying on my, I didn't know it was close. So I hollered down, I said, you better check that porch. I think there's a donkey on the porch. That was the first night we were there. And he went out there it was, staring him right in the face.
You
And
didn't
we didn't know
give
where
him
it
a
came
hay?
from. It was all right. But the farm at the end, that's where it came from. We figured that's where it came from. So Jerry went down. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning. And he went down, and lo and behold, yeah, the man was missing the donkey. He's been
Your
in-
ass is on my porch.
Yeah, the ass is on my porch, that's right. But that was so funny. But we really didn't have the money to do, we did it right, let's put it that way, what we did. But we didn't really have the money to do it, to finish it.
Did he start a garden?
Oh yeah, we
business
had
there?
a big garden. Oh, you had a big garden. We had a nursery for that matter. We had a
nursery?
big nursery. Yep, but see, it was just starting. But we were taxed out. They wanted us to go. They wanted to tear it down. They wanted land. You know.
When did they change the zoning to industrial or commercial?
Are you ready for this? It was farmland when we bought it.
Right.
And those damn realtors never said a word. Never said a word. They changed it on the day we made settlement.
You're kidding.
We wouldn't have bought it then.
All the land,
All, it was all.
all in Cuthbert
zoned.
was
It
changed?
was all, that whole road. It was all zoned
The planning board changed it
commercial.
to commercial.
commercial or business. That's what
I
it was
smell
zoned.
And that was the beginning of the end right there.
That's right.
Yeah.
I smell a
Not
crook.
only that. Now, have you ever heard of Eugene Morey?
Yes.
Okay, he was a crook of the first order, let me tell you.
I thought his big farm was over in, no, I think it was
He
somebody
had a
else.
place in Vineland.
Yeah.
He was down that. That's where he's from, down that area. During the war, he wanted to have a racetrack.